I'd like now to demonstrate for you the game as it sits now. So this is 4 separate instances, and this is actually live on the hive.pw. So I have a login system which is not connected to a database, so literally any username will work for now. I have a chat system here. So say a user can log in here and it will show you users online. When the database is connected, you won't see your own name as being online. So if I log in here, you see now that the second player is has come online, and also the first player on the first one. Because there's not a database, if you now refresh or open a new browser to this page, you won't see the existing online people because you've missed the socket announcing that they're here, but a database will fix that up. So if I log in here, that's come online, and I'll leave this one unlogged for a second. So now if I chat and click send, you see that it pops up on everyone. This is a main lobby page where everyone who's not currently in a game can chat. So they can all chat here. Now, if you're not logged in, you can still chat. And your name will just come up as anon. So I don't know whether I'm going to allow that in the future or not. I don't know. We'll see. But then if they now log in, you see they come online, and if they chat again, then their name will change to whatever they logged into. Now I have a simple invite system which needs some front end work. Obviously this landing page is going to need some other front end work, but I've hit a wall where I actually need the database to continue, but that's for phase 2. So if the Atom player wants to invite Algernon, and then they're presented with this link in the chat. So you notice that it didn't come up on the 2 players that weren't involved. There's basically, in this main page, there's 2 rooms as such, socket.io rooms. Each person is in their own room. So Adam's in the Atom room, Birdie's in a Birdie room, and so on. So when you invite, it sends to these 2 rooms both the invitee and the inviter, and then it's displayed in current chat. So if I click go to game and go to game, if you look up in the browser here, that's EG9 NW8, and they're in the same room. Okay, now the choice of the black and white piece players is basically whoever logs in to the game first is white, and I mean it could be randomized, but it's good enough for now. In the individual game they also have a chat, and this is a separate room as well, so you see it didn't come down in here. And the chat in the main lobby is also not involved in this chat, so this is now a private chat. In future, Adam and Algernon would be set into like a online but in-game type, presence, rather than just online and invitable. So that's the chat there. If I close these chats, now if the players, so this should be white and this should be black. So black pieces are not selectable here. It's not the turn yet for this browser, so can't click anything yet. So the first move is set, and it's just set to send the piece straight to the center of the board. So if they pick right up in the top, then it's kind of exploitable, as you wouldn't be able to place a piece on top. So I just force the piece to the center of the board, and as you can see, the other player got the message that there's a piece there. So now it's black's turn. This is not selectable. None of this is selectable. But if they select their piece now, then that's also forced to the board. So from this point now, they can select where they're going to go. So if white wants to put an ant, now these pieces are the only legal moves. Red indicates that piece is selected. If they try and put it somewhere else, it just deselects it and cancels the move. But if they place it on a legal spot, then there you go, and it's also over here. Same for them. Same for them. Now, the queen piece must come out. There's no other choice. No other piece is able to be moved, and these pieces aren't able to move around until the queen piece is out. So rather than any confusion, wherever you click now, it doesn't matter, the queen piece is going to be selected and they can go there. Same for this one, although that's hidden down there. Now, so these pieces are movable and these pieces are movable. So the ant is not movable because it would break the hive, so there's no moves for that. The grasshopper, however, is able to jump across and go over here. So if this brings out an ant, so I can show you that. So this ant, this is the possible moves for this ant. It's allowed to go anywhere around the hive. So if that just sits there, that's not movable. Grasshopper's movable. The only move is there. Okay, so the spider, it's supposed to be 3 moves, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. I have had a bit of trouble with the spider, so for now, this is it. 2 moves, so the spider can move there. The beetle that goes up on top of the hive isn't implemented yet. That's a whole separate thing that I'll have to implement for phase 2. So there's also a bug online with the online component at the moment, where if you see, that's where the spider was. So the game doesn't know that that spot is now vacant. This should be solved with a database. It's because the 2 browsers don't quite agree where the pieces are. But in future, with the database hanging off the back end, all moves will be sent to there, and then all calculations on possible moves will be pulled from the database locations of the pieces. So this is going to help with, at some stage, in this box down here on the front end, on the landing page, I'm going to have a continue game or whatever button, so that if you close out the browser on an unfinished game, you'll be able to continue it here unless you cancel it or delete it or whatever. Okay, so this is what the game should look like to a normal person playing in a normal browser. Here's your chat, online, login, all that sort of stuff. So this burger menu here, like I said in the concept video, I prefer a burger menu just out of the way in the corner there, and not having an actual nav bar at the top taking up space. So this is the menu. Here I'm going to have a dashboard with the stats, D3 stats, whatever. This will be a separate login component. Obviously there's no database, so logging in here, is not going to, when you go back, it's not going to reflect here. There's also a register component where it's not going to ask any email or anything, just a username that hasn't been taken already, a password confirm. So current games, this is also where you're going to be able to find games that haven't been finished. New game is in, join a new game, make a new game. So you can have single player, which would be where the AI component would be, which I haven't done an AI component. I'd rather actually make it online play. Pass and play is 2 people, 1 computer, and online I think I'm going to have a list of users online and offline, and you can invite them and they'll pick it up when they come back online. Join game, if your friend has invited you or you've been offline, join game will give you a list of games that you're able to be joining, and replays. If I get time, we'll implement, you'll be able to replay games that you've played, and it will just show piece movements, automatically coming in. So if I go to pass and play, this is 2 players, 1 computer. So the first player is white and the next player is, so this is not selectable. So white goes, green goes, white goes, green. I just pull out some pieces. Okay, so as you can see, the ant, can go all around. The spider, like I said, the third move is significantly harder than getting the second move working. So for now, it is what it is. The queen moves 1 space. So if I just bring in a new piece here, and then the win condition, white wins, because the black has been surrounded. So none of this is selectable now because the game is over. There might be, some other link or whatever to come back, but it's in the future. So this is the code for the game. I've separated the client and the server into their own separated components, and the communication between these 2 at the moment is only socket.io. I don't know whether I'll keep that or I'll use Axios for database communications. I'll have to see when that comes up. So the server TS builds into this dist folder, which this package .json runs, starts that server up, and likewise for the client. So the client here, when that builds, that all goes into this dist folder, and then so the server, when that starts up, it pulls the port from wherever, as this is intended to be, and is hosted on Heroku. Heroku will supply this when the dyno spins up, so that's why that's there. If that's not there, then it defaults to port 3001. So the server here, as you can see, is this static serve. It builds as a static website on the front end. It defaults to serving that whole client folder, and then once that's served, it starts listening for socket.io communications on whatever port is given up here. So the logon stuff, when someone logs in, it receives a new user event, and then it re-emits that new user event to all clients, including the one that sent it. So if I change this to broadcast, it's probably not going to send it back to the person that sent it. Now this subscribe stub here, when a person logs in, they subscribe to themselves and they subscribe to the lobby. So that's how that's handled with the multiple rooms. when they're in a game, so Socket.io disconnects sockets on route change, I found. So this subscribe game, the person is resubscribed to the game room that they join once they're, join a multiplayer game. This emits, so when a person joins a room, they need to know what color they are. This array here, the games array, it holds a reference to the room in it. So if no reference is being held at the moment, the player is white, and then it saves a reference to the room. When the next player joins, it looks through the array and says, the room's been made, and emits black player, and then destroys it because it's not needed anymore. So this will destroy that entry in the array rather than just fill it up continually. It gets rid of what it doesn't need. Whenever anyone sends a message, either from the lobby, the game chat, or wherever, it's this send message, and in that data, there will be a data.room, so where it's being sent from, and then it just sends it back to that room. And this is how the invites work. So you send with an invite tag, send the data, it just basically re-emits that invite tag. And then in this online component here, you see here the data is made up of, the user is just admin, as in a system message. The message is, you have been invited to a game. The room here is a randomly generated string of 7 characters. So that's sent along with it. It's sent to the individual person that it's intended for, that you click on, and it also the sender's name. So that is what is contained in this data package here. And then this game is actual game data. So the when you make a move, it sends data tagged with game. It also sends what room it's in and who made the move, and then so that room just gets re-emitted with the tag game, the data, and who made the move. So this is the router here. It's all standard stuff. This here is a lazy loading technique. So this about page will not actually be created when a person hits the landing page. These pages only get created if somebody goes to that path, and then it sits in cache. So this path here, just /game, that's your pass and play. Which it's I've done it this way so that I don't have to make 3 separate games for 3 different game modes. The game mode is actually pulled off the ID. So /game and /game / ABC, they both default to the same view. So this is my actual game entry point. It's the main class. Hive game, Hive app.ts is the main class here. So that's just setup stuff. So in the constructor here, it will receive a reference to the canvas because a canvas element doesn't actually exist on a virtual DOM. So that's how that is receiving it. The actual game component here, when this directive here is how it's receiving the reference to the canvas, and then that is the Heroku instance. So this is the entry point of the app. So into setup, it checks if the game is online. If it is online, like an online game, then it sets up socket stuff. So if it's an online game, so it's asking the server to give it a color, and as soon as it receives a color from the server, it then destroys that listener so that it doesn't hear the next color for the next player, and then sets up the pieces, enable the listener for the clicks, and then the draw just checks for a win and draws the pieces. So the click listener, when you click on the canvas, it figures out where on the canvas it is, and then sends those coordinates to either the first click function or the second click function, depending on if it is selecting a piece or a piece is already selected and you're moving the piece. So on the first click, it will select a piece, and then it will calculate where that piece's moves can be, the legal moves here. It will calculate that based on the piece type. The second click will only let you only let you move a piece onto a legal move. If it's not a legal move, it just deselects the piece and doesn't move it and doesn't change turns. The check win just checks if if either the black or the white piece are completely surrounded, and if they are, the other person wins. When it receives game data, it loops through the game data. If a particular array entry is null, it skips it. Otherwise, it finds out the piece ID, and if when it finds that, it moves that particular piece to the location that the array said that it was. This scurry moves is what the ant, the spider, any piece that moves around the board in any capacity, it will get the amount of moves that it's allowed to move. The ant has -1 because it's infinite. You can move right around, there's no limit to it. It then gets the neighbours, and so forth for every piece. So it will only return tiles with another tile adjacent to it. So this stops it from, picking up the top right hand corner and saying that's legal, because it's not. The jump moves, the jump moves calculates on, it gets every single tile all up this way and all across this way and all across that way, and then wherever those pieces combine with the scurry moves is a valid move, because it's both adjacent and connected to the hive. So I think that's pretty much the interesting stuff on the code. All the rest is just sort of boilerplate code setup stuff. As far as future, I need a database on the end to sort of start moving forward. These aren't just going to have just letters on them. It's going to have an actual, picture of a queen, an ant, and so forth. And then, a bit more in this front end, and that's about it. So if you want to check out the where the current progress is of the game as a whole, the most up-to-date place will be at thehive.pw. So you're welcome to mess around with that, try and break it and whatever. Thanks for watching.